This is my learning integration project focusing on Japanese as my major and American Sign Language as my minor. This is a culmination of experiences demonstrating mastery of breadth as well as the depth of coursework. But who is this speaking anyways? Hi, my name is Ireland Vass, and I'm currently a senior here at Central Washington University. I was initially a transfer student from Arizona and came to Ellensburg, Washington at the start of my sophomore year. I became interested in Japan during this exact visit to Tokyo in 2016. I was flown to Japan as a surprise high school graduation gift. It was here that I became infatuated with the culture, people, and, of course, the language. Throughout my time at Central, I have expanded my toolkit as a result of my experiences presented before me. My adventure can be condensed into 3 sections. These 3 sections positively pressured me in the right direction to further progress my education and to prepare me for my eventual career as a teacher with the JET, or Japanese English Teaching Program. And for Japanese purposes, yoroshiku onegai shimasu, or in English, nice to meet you. Section 1 is representative of a work in progress. My transition from to Arizona to Washington was not easy as I knew no one coming into the state. Furthermore, I was enrolled into an online Japanese class prior to Central, which would eventually lead me to a lot of unforeseen foundational issues with my Japanese language learning. My foundation of Japanese was solely online, and as a result, I had virtually no speaking experience with anyone Japanese and did not practice out loud. Furthermore, all of my quizzes were online, and my computer automatically translated the pages from Japanese to English before I could analyze the sentences myself. Although extremely challenging, my transition to CW's traditional Japanese classes was the most beneficial thing I could have done in terms of reconstructing my framework of the language. Although intimidating, all 3 of my professors implemented one-on-one meetings that required me to think on the spot when asked questions in Japanese. These were extremely beneficial to me, as my professors provided immediate feedback with intonation and grammar. Quarterly PowerPoint presentations in front of the class were mandatory, and these greatly pushed me out of my comfort zone, as I previously mentioned that I had close to no speaking experience and felt weak in this area. Weekly journals greatly improved my Japanese writing and grammar skills, and it is evident even in my writing that I have progressed tremendously. Not to mention that this program has allowed me to be welcomed into a community of people who are interested in the same things that I am. I met both Japanese and American friends who greatly insisted in making Central really feel like a home away from home. This includes the active World Languages department, in which I made numerous connections with. Last but not least, Central offered me a lot of hands-on experience just merely being in the Japanese program. I networked with Asia University America program, or AUAP program, and was able to apply what I had learned throughout my Japanese studies with native speakers. As seen in the bottom left photo, this was my first time writing Japanese ever. And if you look to the right of that, that was my journal entry just a few days ago. On the upper left is a slide of one of my PowerPoint presentations given in front of my class last week. And in the upper middle is a picture of my American friends who are all studying Japanese, and we're at my sensei, or professor's house, eating a traditional Japanese dinner. Underneath that is just one of my many one-on-one meetings that I have with my professors. I write down and review what they say after the meeting to help me improve my receptive skills. And finally, to the right, I have my professor running a drill on the whiteboard, actively participating with the class, which is what I found to be the most conducive to my learning. Finally, after nailing down the groundwork of the Japanese language and feeling positive about my social life, I was welcomed with a new opportunity in Section 2, a step in the right direction. As a result of being fluent in American Sign Language and having Japanese as my major, I was invited to work as a professional interpreter for a deaf Japanese student wanting to learn American Sign Language in AUAP. I learned a multitude of useful skills while working as an interpreter, including the importance of time management, as I had to juggle both my classes and my students' classes. I learned the foundation of Japanese Sign Language so that I could efficiently communicate with my student, create a clear boundary of professional interpreting in the classroom as a mere student, but distinguishing myself as a great friend to these same students outside the classroom. And finally, I welcome the opportunity to be a professional interpreter for CWU permanently following this 5-month experience. However, I turned this down so that I could focus my attention on becoming an international peer advisor for AUAP. And in this job, I learned how to smoothly adjust Japanese students to this American culture and lifestyle during their 5-month stays. Through classroom volunteering in a multitude of subjects, I learned how to teach English in an illustrative and colorful way in case students could not understand what I was trying to say in English. I learned how to gain the trust of both Japanese and American roommates in assisting them in any issues that came up in their respective dorms. Finally, I acted as a representative for both AUAP and CWU on and off campus, exhibiting leadership qualities to showcase that I was proud of both Central and AUAP. The upper left is a picture of my one of my groups on their first day at the airport, and at the bottom is after their 5 months. To the right is a picture of my friends and I in Oregon, and above that is a group of friends who are writing my name out in kanji or Japanese writing. At the bottom right is a picture of my lifelong friends and I. I originally met them at AUAP and got to meet them in Japan the summer before the last. And finally, in the top right is the basic alphabet of Japanese Sign Language, now that I am fluent in. I hope it is obvious to you by now that all of these components of my experience thus far have prepared me for my next move, but just in case, hopefully this section, the key to success, will prove to you just that. On the left, you can see that this criteria is needed by my, hopefully, future employer. Be interested in Japan. Well, I think I can easily vouch for myself for both my love of the culture, people, and language as stated in the first slide, and as exemplified by my choice of major. Hold at least a bachelor's degree or obtain such qualifications by the designated date prior to departure. After spring quarter, I will officially be graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts degree. Although it is not specified, it is greatly preferred that the prospective employee has some sort of background in Japanese, and I think I fulfill both of these requirements. Have the ability to adapt to living and working conditions in Japan. While working as an international peer advisor, I had the unique experience in helping students transition from their Japanese lifestyles to one of Americans. Through this, I have witnessed many experience culture shock, and I feel that I am now more capable than ever of managing my feelings and have some ideas for outlets as a result. Have excellent standard pronunciation, rhythm, intonation in the language. English language. Through classroom volunteering, being an AUAP interpreter, and an IPA, I think I more than am qualified to meet this benchmark. And finally, 2 letters of recommendation. With my endless connections in the World Languages Department, as well as the community, I know that I have a lot of dependable people who would be willing to vouch for my hardworking ethic and dedication to all things Japanese related. So, what do you think? Was JET's applications criteria met? I think so too. I want to leave you with this quote. To have another language is to possess a second soul. This quote has helped me tremendously throughout my experience here at CWU. I have only had access to this second soul as a result of CWU and its community. Without my unique experiences here, I would not have been able to have the confidence that I do now, make lifelong connections, and further my comprehension of the Japanese language. So, finally, thank you, CWU, for the wonderful past 3 years.